go! Welcome to the official Guns Up Nation podcast, the premier voice for the fearless fans of Raiderland.
He breaks. Oh, he's the one! Red Raider! Unbelievable!
The Scarlet and Black are back at the Final Four Club, and they hail from Lubbock, Texas.
Let's meet today's hosts.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome into another installment of the Guns Up Nation podcast. I'm RC Maxfield alongside Tobias Bass down in H-Town. How you doing, Tobias?
Doing well, man. Just taking the day by day.
No weather report?
I haven't been outside. It looks there's not a cloud in the sky, but it looks like it's a good day. I'm
Okay.
going to my mom a little bit, but yeah.
That's good. Okay. We always got to get that, bi-weekly weather report from you here on the podcast in Houston, just in case people listen to us for the weather for some reason, which we all know isn't the case, but you got to get it anyway. But on today's podcast, we're going to talk about, obviously, Texas Tech football, what went down in the Little Apple. We're going to talk about Texas Tech soccer, what they need to do to improve, as well as Texas Tech volleyball actually getting an upset match win over the number 13 Iowa State Cyclones. But, Tobias, let's start with soccer real quick. That way we can – because we know we're going to spend a ton of time on football. That's just how it's going to be. So let's just start with soccer. We talked about them a little bit last podcast and how we thought maybe they would come out and, lay the pedal down to the metal. And, it just hasn't been like that. They go up to Norman and it's 2-2. They get a draw. They have not won a game yet so far this year. They're 0-1-2. And it does not get any easier, man, with the number 4 team in the country, the West Virginia Lady Mountaineers, coming in. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Coach Stone does. And it looks like this might be the roster he has, because we haven't seen Jade King. Yeah. We haven't seen Allie Griffin. So it might be some of those stars that you thought were going to play this year. They might not just play this year at all for the Red Raiders.
Maybe I'm going to assume maybe he knows something we don't. Maybe they're like, I'm just going to come back next year. Maybe that's what that is. I'm assuming we'll probably see them maybe in like a game or two, maybe. But I feel like it's something that they're not playing for a reason. Like, because Jay's been out a year. Allie's been out over a year. You know what I mean? So maybe they told him, what, Coach, we're both going to come back next year. We just want to get our bodies right, mentally, physically, emotionally. We'll just be ready for next year. Because it's kind of weird. We expected them to play and we thought we would see a three-headed monster in the front line, but we just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and it's weird too because we haven't seen a lot of Penny Malanga either. Again, this year is so weird in any sport, and I think Texas Tech is doing the right thing, especially when there's a global pandemic coming out. They're not disclosing the injuries unless it's just blatantly obvious. You know what I mean? Like if you see somebody, God forbid, tear their ACL on the field and you can tell it's an ACL injury, they probably have to tell the public about it, right? Yeah. But if it's one of those things where, I don't know, maybe it's an ankle or a knee, they're going to keep it to themselves and they're just not going to report it and just say that the player is out for, physical reasons or whatnot. Yeah. Or, and I think that's probably the smart thing to do because, you see it in the NFL, which is a completely different beast, but they do release the names of the people that got, COVID and all that kind of stuff. In college, I don't think that's necessary, No. But, yeah, it is interesting because, like you said, that three-headed monster, especially here for soccer in that front line, I thought that was going to be the way that Texas Tech was going to win the Big 12.
Right.
Because I didn't think anybody could guard them. This isn't, a shot at Macy Schultz or anything. I think Macy Schultz is really good. But when you have Macy Schultz on your team and she's arguably the 4th best forward on your team, that's an issue for Big 12 teams that you're playing against, right? And so I don't know what it is. I watched the game a little bit against OU. I got to watch it online a little bit, and they just look a little sluggish in the midfield, man. Like they're aggressive, but it's not all the time. And that we covered them for myself 3 years, you 2 years, that they're always aggressive. They're always making those slide tackles. They're always being body to body, super physical in the midfield. And that's where Texas Tech capitalizes to get those attacks. When they streak out, whether that's Kirsten Davis or Allie Griffin, Jade King, whoever it was, right? That's how they, get a lot of their possessions. They're sloppy at times in the midfield with the ball, but they make up for it with their physicality. And it just didn't look that physical. And maybe it was just, that game. I got to watch a little bit of the, first game of the year where they played Baylor, and it was kind of the same. But I really took everything they did against Baylor with a grain of salt because it's first game of the year. You didn't really get your, training that you needed to before the season started. So I took it with a grain of salt. But it was just really weird to me not to see that physicality in the midfield that Texas Tech, in my opinion, is kind of known for.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know. Like I said, I think there's just like something behind closed doors. Maybe we'll find it at the end of the year. But yeah, they're not. Like I said, they had high expectations. But like you said, this is a weird year. There's just some stuff going on. Maybe right now they're kind of pretty much treading water. They haven't won a game yet, but they're kind of just being, I guess, stagnant, not really going up or down. But I know expectations were high. Hopefully they can turn it around. But like you said, they have a tough matchup in 4 days. Yeah. So we'll see what they can do against West Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, it's a top 5 matchup. I mean, thank goodness you're playing them at home. Crazy things happen at John Walker Soccer Complex. It's arguably one of the hardest places to play in America, especially just because you don't know the conditions, what's going to happen on a Friday in October in Lubbock, That's just kind of how it goes. I mean, I remember calling games, Tobias, you were there, where one Friday – literally, this would be back-to-back weekends. One Friday, perfect weather, 70 degrees, 5-mile-an-hour wind. You're out there in shorts and a T-shirt, and you're just living life, right? Feels really nice. You come back the next Friday, it's 40 degrees. You're wearing 3 windbreakers, 7 pairs of socks, and you're still cold.
Yeah, no, it's been like that exactly. It's super, super windy. The ball's flying. You try to kick it, down the field. The ball's going out of bounds. So, back corner. It's just – the conditions are Lubbock a while. We've lived there 3 to 4 to 5 years, so it's wild up there. So you kind of never know what you're going to get, especially in 2020. Who knows? We might have a sandstorm, mudstorm, whatever we could have out there in Lubbock. Who knows?
Yeah, those are always fun. You always want to have just a random sandstorm come out of nowhere. Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
So those are always fun. But yeah, Texas Tech soccer, they're set to face off or match up, I guess, against the number 4 West Virginia Lady Mountaineers, and it is Lady Mountaineers. Because West Virginia, is the only team in the Big 12 that has a men's soccer program.
Yeah.
And they play in the ACC, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong on that, though.
I think they do.
It's either that or the Big 12, right? Or not the Big 12, the Big 10. I can't remember which. Yeah, I think it's the ACC too. Just a little bit easier. But, yeah, so it is technically just the Red Raiders for Texas Tech and then Lady Mountaineers for them since they play the same sport. But we'll move on. Let's talk about Texas Tech volleyball, man. This team, they're an interesting one. And I mean that in the most respectful kind of way possible because, again, this is another sport that we got to cover probably a lot more than virtually everybody outside of maybe Carlos at the AJ, right? And maybe, a Daily Torador writer who changes probably every year. This team is really, really interesting in the fact that, you lose your best player arguably in program history in Emily Hill, right? You're not sure exactly how you're going to, fill her void. And obviously you're not going to do it with one person, right? We're not crazy in that regard. I don't think anybody would say that Emily Hill her spot could be filled by one respective individual, right? But you look at what Texas Tech has on the outside hitters. That's one thing that we look at a lot, especially with Coach Morgan Thomas. We know that she loves the blocks. We know that she loves the heavy outside hitters, right? And they have a lot of them. If you look at what Texas Tech did to upset the number 13 Iowa State Cyclones on Saturday, this is impressive, Tobias. I don't know if I've ever seen a line like this from the Red Raiders, and if you can think of one, by all means, tell me. They had 4 girls in double-digit kills, right? And we're not talking just, 4 girls that just scraped by and got, 10, right? Allison Blouse, the Washington State transfer, she got 11. Samantha Sanders, she got 12. She's the Texas A&M transfer. And then you had Caitlin Dugan, who kind of got overshadowed at times last year just because she was younger and didn't really have a role since Emily Hill was there on the outside. She had 17 kills, and then the preseason All-Big 12 member, Brooke Cannis, had 17 as well with a hitting percentage of 200. Caitlin Dugan had a 300 hitting percentage. I mean, those are unheard of type numbers. And as a team, Texas Tech had 67 kills. I mean, That's unbelievable. And they were hitting 21% against Iowa State.
Yeah, I think this team, they're hot and cold. When they get hot,
Yes.
they can, upset teams. They did the same thing against West Virginia in the first game of the year. But yeah, I think they're very hot and cold. I mean, which is, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Kind of like Tech soccer. Tech soccer is kind of treading water. They're kind of the opposite, I guess. They're Tech soccer is treading water, trying to get above ground. And volleyball, they're hot or cold. When they play like this, they can beat top 15 teams in the country.
Yeah, it's an any given day kind of deal. Like
Yeah.
with volleyball, one day, and I think it's actually might be in their best interest to be that way this year. Obviously, you just wish they were hot the whole time, right? But this year it might not be a bad thing because remember, you get to play every opponent twice on back-to-back days. So, like you're saying, let's say they come out cold on a Thursday night, they come back on Friday, they can make all these adjustments and win games. That's exactly what they did against Iowa State up in Ames, against the number 13 team in the country, and that's kind of what they did against West Virginia, but the opposite. They came out hot, swept West Virginia in the first matchup of the year, and then West Virginia made the adjustments, and they won 3-1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be really interesting. You're looking at the schedule. Obviously, there's really good teams in the Big 12. Baylor and Texas are always powerhouses, it seems like. But you play TCU in Fort Worth this coming up weekend, right, on Thursday. So you get kind of a shortened week. They got to go there. They probably split with TCU. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year when Baylor came in that they'd be 3-3, I'd take it.
Yeah. No, for sure, especially as you playing Iowa State, because not to count the girls out, but people would have probably thought they would have lost both games.
100%.
Even despite even making the adjustment, but you get a split. That's pretty good. But like you said, they're 3-3. I'll take that every day of the week.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's if they obviously split with TCU and Fort Worth. But I mean, you have a top 15 win under your belt.
Yeah,
that's good, regardless, especially where this program is trying to go. You do have those upsets that you mentioned earlier, but the volleyball team, they're still trying to – they're coming from the lowest of the low of any program on campus.
Yeah.
Them and softball were pretty close, but I would probably give the edge to volleyball in terms of holy crap, like they were the lowest of the low in terms of in their conference and their respective sport. But Tony Greystone, I mean, he's slowly getting them up there. I don't expect Texas Tech to finish in the top, 4?
Yeah.
But if they finish 5th or 6th, I mean, I think that's probably what you need to expect. Probably 5th would be a great finish. And then with the way that the formatting is this year with the back-to-backs, Texas Tech could easily, somehow figure out a way to go to 4th. And, I think that would surprise people, but they're so deep on the outside. You got liberos in the back that are really good, and Northcutt, as well as Emerson Solano. The Dodson twins are also back there. But then you got Blouse, you got Sanders, you got Brooke. I haven't even mentioned Allison White yet at all, or Alex Kirby. So, I mean, you have a lot of talent there. It's just kind of this is, it takes a lot of time to build a program from where this was. And Coach Tony Greystone and Morgan Thomas, who I'm kind of shocked is still at Texas Tech. I don't know about you. And I'm not saying in the sense of she getting fired. I'm saying in the sense of her not getting her own program.
Yeah, she's good. Then I think that also, some of the girls in the team, they're junior by classification, but they might not have played a lot over the last year or so. So this is, they're playing a lot. And it's good to see them, they're able to step in without limited playing time. And they're playing well. And you're beating teams like Iowa State. There's a lot of juniors on this team, but some of them, like I said, they just haven't played them. But some of them have, like Candace, they played a lot. But some of them they have, but they're able to come in immediately and they haven't, really missed a beat. They're at least playing well.
Yeah, no, and again, they're so deep. It's really one of those things. And he always seems to get a couple of transfers. At least one or two. This year it was the A&M transfer, and then obviously you got the transfer from Washington State as well, who, by the way, is just a freshman or a sophomore, I should say. So she's here for another 3 years, potentially 4, if they give eligibility, which they will to the fall sports. So she could be here for another 4 years. And that's a thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about with soccer and volleyball. They get to come back since it's fall sports, right? So this year is just kind of bona fide scrimmages, in my opinion.
Like a trial run almost.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I think that's perfect for girls like Blouse and Sanders who come in here. They didn't get their necessary off-season programs that, would acclimate them to the program right away, or at least accelerate the process. So now they get a whole year to do it. And I think that's probably going to help Texas Tech in the long run, because you still get your recruiting class next year too. And the recruiting class next year for Texas Tech volleyball is one of the best in program history. So, Coach oh my God, I was about to call him Northcutt. I had their lineup here in front of me. I was about to call him Coach Northcutt. Coach Greystone, excuse me, is doing a really good job. It's just going to take some time to get that program where it wants to be. But we've seen flashes of it. It's just got to be consistency, and that's part of building a program. And we'll talk about building a program here in the later stages, Tobias. But let's shout out our friends at Two Docs real quick before we get into the football stuff and talk about the depth chart and, oh my goodness, what went wrong in the Little Apple this weekend. You can go watch Texas Tech football this weekend at Two Docs. They'll be screening the Iowa State game up there at 11 a.m. Go get some great beer, live music, get some food trucks up there too. Bring your pets. They're socially distancing everybody out there. It's a great, friendly staff and a great environment. Two Docs is located at 502 Texas Avenue in downtown Lubbock. And right now they are offering free shipping on orders of $49 or more when you use the promo code GUNSUP. Again, when you use the promo code GUNSUP, all capital, no spaces, get free shipping on orders of $49 or more. And I was talking to JC, the guy that runs that. Apparently people have been using this code, Tobias. So they've been listening. Good. So I'd be using it too if I was them, but I'd be going to Two Docs in person. So no need to ship it unless I can get free shipping to my table. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But yeah, no. So again, the promo code is GUNSUP. You can go to their website, twodocsbrewing.com. Again, the website is twodocsbrewing.com. Use the promo code GUNSUP, all one word, all capitalized, and get free shipping on $49 or more. And go see our friends down at Two Docs and support local business. And be sure to tell them Guns Up Nation sent you. Tobias, let's move on to the – oh, man. Oh, Jesus. This is – I don't know if we really want to talk about this, but I think we have to. Texas Tech went up to Manhattan, Kansas, and I think they played it close, and then Kansas State just hit them in the mouth at the very end, and they ended up winning 31-21. Vaughn had a really long reception at the end of that game, 70 yards to basically seal it there late in the fourth quarter. Alan Bowman got hurt. We'll talk about him in a little bit. In his injury status, since Coach Wells just had his presser here on Monday and revealed what exactly went wrong with him in terms of, the injury timeline. But Tobias, we got to talk about Henry Colombi. You and we had talked about him previously on the podcast when he came in, the Utah State transfer. Excuse me. We didn't know much about him. A lot of Utah State fans were upset because he did transfer. But he is a Matt Wells, Yost guy. He was recruited by those guys to go out there and play at Utah State. What was your initial, impression of him in terms of what you saw? And I'll put a caveat in there. Let's not qualify the first half because that was just an awful position for him to be in. And it should have been 14-6. But what did you think of Henry Colombi? And I guess you can go ahead and say overall, what did you think of him?
He played well, in my opinion. He had good poise. I was looking him up, before when he first got in. He hasn't played, that much, Division I football. He hadn't played that much. I think he only played maybe like between 5 to 8 games max. I don't even know if it was that many. He hasn't played that much, but he's he looked poised. He was making some good throws. He brought a little different type of juice to the team. He would run, scramble, get out the pocket and things like that. I think all in all, he played well. Cause I think you tweeted about it. I didn't think that he would have been the backup coming in at first, but he for him coming in, he played well.
No, I didn't. I thought it was going to be Maverick. I'm going to be honest.
Exactly.
I thought it would be Maverick, and it wasn't. And a lot of Tech fans were upset with that, especially in the first half. And I guess I get it to a degree, but at the same time, the coaching staff sees these guys day in and day out. So I would hope that they would know better than us. Just hopefully. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I kind of agree with you. I talked about it with Casey Cowan. You can listen to him actually on Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Lubbock on 100.7 The Score. I talked to Casey about it, and I said, he looked good. I thought in the first half, he was thrown into a difficult situation. He looked prepared to play, but the problem is you can't make adjustments if you're a team from the game plan that you have on the fly like that. You know what I mean? It's super difficult to do that. Halftime couldn't have come at a better time for the Red Raiders. And again, I don't think the Red Raiders necessarily played as bad as the score indicated. 2 missed field goals are a big deal in that game. That's 14-6 at halftime. 14-0 looks a lot different than 14-6. But you go on, you come out, and you hit them right in the mouth. And you come out and you actually take the lead at one point, 21-17, excuse me. And that was due in part to Henry Colombi bringing that juice that you were talking about, that different aspect that Alan Bowman doesn't bring, which is he can run the football a little bit better.
Yeah.
The RPOs were working to perfection with Xavier White and Tobias. You know how I feel about RPOs. It's my favorite 3 letters you can put together in football. It was just ridiculous how effective it was. Xavier White was just the perfect complement to Columbia out there.
Yeah, he was.
And I brought it up on the post-game show too. You can watch the post-game show here on the Facebook page, Guns Up Nation Facebook page, I should say. I was mentioning it. If I'm them, I know that they want to have the tight end out there. That's a staple of Yost's offense, which finally Kuntz got more than 2 catches in this game. It was only 3, but he looked a little better. If you're going to have Columbia in there, and I don't know if you will, we'll talk about that a little bit later in terms of how the depth chart is shaking out. But if Columbia's out there, I would love to see these guys around him. I would love to see Vasher, Keyshawn, obviously Eric Uzakama, and then I would love to see Miles Price. Miles Price had some juice, man.
Yeah, he did.
I love Miles Price in this offense. Put Miles Price opposite of Keyshawn Carter in the other slot, and then you have Xavier White back there in the backfield or Sir Roderick Thompson. Prefer Xavier White if we're running RPOs because it just keeps him a little bit more honest. But, yeah, no, I thought Columbia looked really good. Now, I did ask on Twitter, Tobias, does Texas Tech now have a QB controversy? 1,500 people voted. What would you say, first of all? Does Texas Tech have a QB controversy, yes or no?
I would probably say yes.
You would say yes?
Yeah.
You were with the majority. 65% said yes. I'm going to say this. I think there's 2 ways or maybe 3 ways to actually really look at this. I don't think anybody would say that Columbia is more talented than Bowman, right?
Right.
Bowman's more talented.
He is.
I think that's easy to say. But I think Columbia might be better suited for the current Yost offense.
Yeah.
So if you're Texas Tech, and we'll talk about the depth chart here in a second, you're the coach, Tobias. Both are healthy. You're running the current offense. Nothing changes. Who do you want to start for Texas Tech against Iowa State names?
Well, one, before I answer that, though, you can look at it like this. How many true snaps has Bowman even had in the offense? Because last year he was hurt pretty much all year. He was still recovering. Then he comes in, he plays a couple of games this year. But how many, actual time, how much time has he even had in this offense? Columbia, at least when he was at Utah State, he's seen this for at least 3 years, now going on his 4th year. He's been around it for sure. But it's hard for me to just put Alan Bowman down. But one thing about it, this might not even be his own fault, but he just gets hurt so much. And at some point, it's just like, damn, can he stay on the field at all? But
this one really wasn't his fault, though.
Yeah, it wasn't. But it's just it's just unfortunate. It just keep happening. I mean, I don't think he's not done for the year. He's still playing, obviously, but it's just how many games can he play in a row before he's going to get hurt? But to answer your question, I would probably throw Bowman out there again, but so we play Iowa State this weekend. They have a pretty good defense, and I think that if the game's close and Bowman's struggling, I think you take him out. I think I would.
I think I'm right there with you. What I would do is I would start Bowman, but it's on a thin leash, right? Kind of like you talked about, or a short leash, I guess, is the proper term. So with Alan Bowman being the starter, if he comes in and, say you give him 3 drives or something like that, and the first 3 drives you just get a field goal out of it, but you're down 14-3, but you're struggling to move the ball a little bit, I'd probably bring in Henry.
I would.
I'd probably bring him in because he brings in that RPO style where, dear God, he is not the fastest guy in the world. Let's say that first of all. He is not fast. But he brings that element that Texas Tech doesn't have with Bowman.
And for me, maybe I'm reading into it a little bit more, but it seemed like the player, they seemed almost more – they had more juice that they felt like confident about. Because you see, like, guys were just doing, like Xavier Roberts, busting plays, Price is getting open. Things just look to flow a little bit better. And maybe that could be because, they didn't prepare for him to come into the game. That's
Exactly.
also a major factor as well. But while he was in the game, that they looked confident. They played well. Like, they looked like a different football team offensively, and they were moving the ball.
No, I mean, yeah, he went 30 for 42, 244 yards, a touchdown.
Yeah.
He did have that pick to TJ Vasher. It wasn't a great throw, but he did get hit on the arm. I don't know if it gets there regardless, but I take my chances with a 6'6" guy over a guy that's 6 foot any day of the week. It just was a little short-armed, and maybe that was because his arm got hit. Not trying to make excuses or anything for the guy, but that's just the actuality of it. He got hit. So, Tobias, we're talking about the QB position here, and Matt Wells just had his press conference here on Monday. Texas Tech just released their depth chart to the media, and Alan Bowman is still listed as QB1. Coach Wells did say that Texas Tech is taking it day to day with Alan Bowman. It's not a season-long injury. It's just basically, he's sore, and they're just going to play it by ear and everything like that. So when I look at this depth chart right now for week 4 going into Iowa State, personally what I hear when Coach Wells says that, Tobias, I don't know about you, but I look at the schedule. Texas Tech has a bye after Iowa State, right? So what I look at is, okay, Alan Bowman's not playing this week. They're going to give him 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get healthy. This is going to be Henry Colombi's game, but we're going to put Alan Bowman as number 1 on the depth chart because, we're going to try and make Iowa State have to prep for him and Columbia.
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of how I take it.
I mean, that can make sense. I just think that, if he's healthy, if he's able to go, I think you throw him out there. But like I said before, like you said before, if they're struggling a little bit before halftime, and like you said, it's 14-3, I think you would probably throw Columbia out there. And then I think that if Columbia can, somewhat win the game or even make it close, I think the week after the bye week, I think you should probably go with Columbia for some time.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting because that bye week falls at a pretty critical time for Texas Tech, right? I think the line came out yesterday. It was -13 to Iowa State, which is that's a big number. That's a really big number. But hey, they were more at home against Texas, so it is what it is at this point. But when I think about where this bye week is placed, I wonder if they do exactly what we're talking about, right? Where, okay, we're going to throw Bowman out there. If he doesn't look great, okay, Columbia comes in after halftime. And then during the bye week, Columbia, you're the guy, and you're going to get the start once we come back from the bye. We're going to give you 2 weeks to do that. Or I wonder if, they just give Bowman the whole game to prove himself regardless. Let the sink ship as fast as possible or whatnot, however you want to talk about it. And then, okay, well, we have the bye. Columbia's getting all the first-team reps from here on out. Or are they going to split it? Or I hope they don't do this because you see some teams do this where they do 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I would hate to see that. But I really think that, and it's crazy to say because I do think Bowman is the more talented guy. And I mean, you agree with me on that. It would not shock me at all if Henry Columbia is the starter from here on out after the bye week.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't surprise me. It's just with Bowman, like if that game is winnable against Iowa State, like you said, you're down 6, I would probably throw Columbia because the game's winnable. If you can win that game, put the guy out there you think that can, lead you to victory. So if Columbia's that guy, throw him out there. They're not knocking at Bowman, but, between the injuries and, just bad decision making, it's kind of hard for us to trust him going forward. But if Columbia can run your offense the way you want it to be ran, I think that's the guy you go with.
But isn't that a bad look, you think? So the situation that you laid out, let's just pretend that's the exact situation, right, for this argument. So you said it's 14-6 or it's a close game at halftime. You'd have to keep Bowman in there just for – that would look bad. That quarterback kept the game close for you. You're obviously 13-point dogs. You're not supposed to win at Iowa State. Let's just be real. You're not. You're a talented team, but Iowa State is a better team. It's just simple and plain. You catch them on a bad day, but wouldn't that look bad to the rest of the roster if you take Bowman out in a game you're competing in?
For me, I think it kind of depends on how he's playing as an individual because, the defense, if they're keeping us in the game, it's not so much, Bowman. Let's say he's 75 yards and an interception, but the defense is only able to give up. Bowman goes down the field, he gets to 6 points, but he throws an interception. The next drive looks kind of bad and whatever. I would consider it. Maybe you're right. It could look bad to the rest of the team, but I would definitely consider it if the game is winnable. Like if it's 14-6 at halftime and Bowman's not running offense that well, I would probably consider it. Even if you give him another drive after halftime, but what that drive looks like, then I think you can make a decision from there. But it could look bad. But I mean, they were just in a weird situation, unfortunately. I mean, last week's game was winnable, and unfortunately Bowman got hurt. But I mean, Columbia, he looked good while he was in there. But also at the same time, it is different when they're preparing for you for a whole game as opposed to you just being thrown in there spontaneously.
Yeah, it's super interesting too because the more I think about it, and this is a little bit way down the road. Football teams aren't even thinking about this. But, people that cover the team and everything like that, we try and stay one step ahead of everything. Realistically, there's 3 quarterbacks on the roster right now that could play, right? Bowman, Maverick, and Henry, right?
Yeah.
How many of those guys do you think are back next year?
1, 2 max.
I was going to say 1.
I was going to say 1. Yeah, 1 probably my answer.
I don't see a way next year where Byron Morton isn't the starting quarterback.
No, I don't.
As a true freshman.
Nope.
I don't see a way where he's not.
You have to be the starter.
So if that's the case, let's just play the hypothetical game, and we'll talk a little bit more about depth chart things here in a minute. But if that's the case, right, Bowman's transferring, and so is Maverick, right?
Yeah, no, Bowman for sure. I think he definitely would transfer immediately. I think that would be the first piece to fall.
And Maverick's got to transfer. He's 20 years old. He hadn't played a snap yet. I guess he could be 19. He's a redshirt freshman, so he's going to turn 20 here soon. But
well, I mean, yeah, if you're getting your spot taken by a freshman, you might as well just leave, buddy, because exactly. you're not going to play.
Exactly, and then Henry would stay to be the backup, and I mean he would be serviceable and be a good mentor to Morton. But it's just weird to me when you think about that because, what was it? It was 3 years ago. Alan Bowman was in a quarterback competition with McLean Carter, and everybody was thinking, oh my gosh, McLean's got the runaway job, and then McLean gets hurt in week 1, if you remember, down in Houston. And then Bowman comes in and he flashes, man, and we thought, oh my God, we got one. But it's just crazy how quick things turn because you look at Morton. Morton has been recruited by Wells and Yost. He wants to come play here. He's a Red Raider through and through. He's the highest rated quarterback ever to commit to Texas Tech. Like, the kid's a stud. And then I forget, did we talk about what Morton did in his high school game on Friday, Tobias?
No, we didn't.
Did you see those stats?
I haven't seen it. What did he do?
Okay, well, let me pull up these stats. But talk about, like, that situation for me while I look up these stats. Like, you have these 3 quarterbacks. I think they're all capable, but I wonder if that has an impact on their psyche and how they're thinking about this. Like, they try not to look forward or anything, but they realize Bowman might just be playing for his job right now long term, right? Yeah,
no, I agree. I think that, I mean, like when you have, like you said, the highest rated quarterback, coming here, I think you would have to, because like I said, even if your spot's in jeopardy with a talented freshman like that, I think you would leaving would be, it makes sense, especially if you're the backup too as well. Maverick, like you said, he's 20 years old. He hasn't played a snap yet. I think he has to leave because you just don't have enough time, especially with you being able to keep a year of eligibility. I think, why not? You know what I mean? It's like, why would you not try to leave, especially Bowman? We saw him as a freshman. I think me and you both said it. We thought him and Brock Purdy would run the Big 12 in like 2 years. That's what I think I said that. I don't know if you said it as well. Yeah, we thought, that's the way they were trending at the time, or at least if we thought for Bowman, we thought that they would be the 2 future stars of the Big 12 between injuries and, just not being able to make the right throws. I think you would have to transfer. Maybe a Pac-12 school for Bowman kind of maybe would make sense. I was thinking
Washington State.
Yeah, I said that would probably – that's a good pick. I think that would probably make sense for him. And then, Maverick, I would kind of watch some more of his film and see where he could go. But like you said, I mean, if Morton comes here on campus, just like the fans, they're going to want to see him play because you have to play him. Especially what we've seen from Bowman in recent memory between injuries and bad playing. I think he would have to be the starter.
So I got Morton's stats up. On Friday night, he plays for Eastland, right? So he got a little bit further west. And his team won 91-71. by the way.
Okay.
So that'll prepare you for the stats.
Who did they like? I mean, what school did they play? I didn't even see
I
this.
forgot who they played. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. It was absolutely insane.
Lord.
Yeah, when I saw the stuff, I was like, okay, like this is unbelievable. But again, he plays at Eastland.
Yeah.
He's nominated for the I forgot what the award is called, but it's basically, best player in Texas this week or whatnot.
Gatorade?
The which one?
Gatorade Player of the Year in Texas?
No, not Gatorade Player of the Year, but just like Mr. Texas Football of the Week.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Or something like that. So this was his stat line, okay? Yeah, and he played Panhandle, by the way, Panhandle High School.
Okay.
He went 23 for 33 for 425 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. On the ground, he had 9 carries for 120 yards, 3 touchdowns for 8 total scores on the night where the Mavericks won 91-71. By the way, he's not done, Tobias. Let me pull this other stat up, which is absolutely insane about this kid. Okay, so he's the quarterback for their team, right? He's also the kicker. He made 10 PATs. He made all of his PATs on the night. And also he's the punter. He averaged a net punting distance of 42.3 yards.
No, this kid's insane.
Like, what is happening?
You might well the defense could use help. They might as well put him at corner. And they might as well, because they need help. Clearly, they're giving up 71 points. But, this kid, I mean, when you have a kid, and then he's just electrifying. We've seen the tape. We see what he brings to the table. I mean, when he comes, there's going to be so much hype and buzz around him. I think fans and even maybe some of the players, they probably wouldn't say it publicly, but you want that kid on the field.
100%. And I've watched him, obviously his tape. I haven't got to see him live, but when I watched the tape, he reminds me of Bouchel over at SMU with a sprinkle. And I don't want to please do not twist my words here, people. A sprinkle of Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, no, he does. No, he does.
He's got that little sprinkle of it.
No, he does. That's what I was thinking in my head. I said he kind of looks like Johnny. Hopefully, he doesn't act like it, but he looks like Johnny Manziel just a little bit. That's what he reminds me of.
He's got a sprinkle of it in him, man. He's just a playmaker, like all over the field. But yeah, like that quarterback stuff. I mean, so real quick, who do you think is going to be the starter this weekend?
I think they'll throw Bowman out there, but it won't surprise me to see a switch.
I think it's going to be Columbia. Personally, I think they're going to say give Bowman an extra week of rest, and then it's going to be a quarterback competition depending on how Columbia plays. That's what I probably guess what would happen. So I think Columbia will probably start. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's maybe a package or two with Maverick MacGyver involved just to get him on the field. But let's talk about this depth chart a little bit more, Tobias. There's other things on here that kind of are interesting to me, and I want to get your thoughts on them. So the first one that really caught my eye was the H wide receiver. You have Dalton rigged in there, no problem with that, or Keyshawn Carter. When they're both healthy, they both get equal amount of run, and I'm completely okay with that. The thing that was weird to me, if you go over to the far right, McLean Mannix, right, and Miles Price. We have not seen McLean Mannix all year except for, a few snaps, but Miles Price has made a huge impact. It's kind of weird to me to even see McLean Mannix on there. I do not get the point of the or. Miles Price has at least earned a spot. For sure. Maybe not on the Rigdon and Carter, threshold, but he's definitely deserved to be the number 3 wide receiver in that spot by himself.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Miles Price definitely should be there. I'm like I said, maybe I don't know why. Yeah, we haven't seen him all year. I mean, Price got a touchdown last week. I don't know why he would not be there, like you said, in that spot, literally by himself.
Yeah, and then the other guy, I have to give a shout out to my former roommate. You remember Sam, good old Sam, married to Savannah now. His hometown. John Holcomb, a tight end from good old Wellington, Texas. He got some run. That's a big old boy. I really like him. At number 87, Wells was talking about him in the press conference, saying that, we thought he would be more of, a Travis Kuntz kind of guy where he'd be, lined up off the line of scrimmage as like a slot receiver. But they underestimated his physicality, and he's going to line up more inside and be that extra, lineman type sometimes, and then, drag off. So that's great to see that, they're slowly getting those tight ends in. It's going to be really interesting next year to see how Holcomb and even Kuntz can come back, right? You got to remember that you have Sharp coming in as well as Castle. So your tight ends next year, you're going to be 4 deep at tight end potentially.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is obviously a nice problem to have. And the next thing that kind of caught my eye, if you move on down, was the end position, Tobias. At defense, you got Eli Howard and Banasour and Wilson, the transfer from A&M.
Yeah.
There's no or there on any of the linemen at all, right? And I get you're just trying to go in there and just play who you can. But I'll say this, and I think Eli Howard is the best lineman that they have. But, man, the jump that Tony Bradford has made is absolutely phenomenal. That guy was a game wrecker in Manhattan this weekend.
And he's only a sophomore, so he has plenty of time, But like you say, he played very well this past weekend. I want to see him get some more time on the field.
I do too. I really like him. And then, obviously, I think Rico will admit he made a stupid decision there. But, I mean, it happens. Sometimes in the heat of the game, that's just what happens to players. Totally understandable. But he'll be back. Merriweather, Schooler. And then the other one that kind of caught my eye, and I'm curious to see about this, is the spurt. You look at it, you got Eldridge, Ellinger. I had freaking you-know-who on my brain. Eldridge, and then you have Morgenstern, and then you have Fields. It's really interesting to me that that's an or situation because the guys that we've been seeing play more often than not have been Eldridge and then Morgenstern.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see DeMarcus Fields there when in more actuality, I figured that he would probably be playing more safety in the cornerback position, but they have him there instead.
Maybe they just want him there to be – maybe he can cover, I guess, better in space and come and make tackles, I guess. Or maybe he could be like that. Like you said, this is a spy or a rover you could just have down low. That's the only thing I could, even see. Maybe because, for this particular week, what Purdy likes to do, he likes to throw especially when they have Brees, the running back down, he likes to run across the field and stuff like that. Maybe they want to have a guy that's, played corner or some safety before down there so he can be in coverage.
And then the other one that caught my eye was there's two actually. McPherson at one of the CB positions, and then it's Adrian Fry or Nate Floyd.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I didn't get that either, especially Floyd being
that's concerning. Adrian Fry, I thought he'd have an interception or something this weekend, but he got beat on that long touchdown throw. Thank goodness that the guy dropped it for K-State in the end zone. But it really hasn't been able to match or even kind of come close to what he did as a freshman.
Maybe this is the week where he gets interception because I know Purdy, he can be gunslinger-ish, and he kind of really doesn't care. He'll throw it pretty much where he wants. Maybe this will be the week where Fry gets some, but I just don't know if he has a ton of confidence right now. Just mentally, I think I hope he's not, broken, but I just don't think he's a confident player right now. You need him to be that way. He's one of our, best defensive players. You need him to have that type of confidence.
Agreed. And then the last thing that caught my eye was Seth Collins is already number 2 at the depth chart on safety position. He moved from wide receiver.
Yeah, no, I guess he just, he's a senior. I guess he really just wants to, get on the field. He's a football player, so I guess he said, Coach, I love to play wide receiver, but you guys need me at safety. I'll be back there. We have a 6'3", 200-pound safety back there, which is
he was playing too, man.
Yeah, he was
playing. He was playing significant snaps.
Oh yeah, no, he played a lot. Because I was watching, I was like, I know he did this a game before. I was like, is that Collins at center? Maybe that's just somebody. I said, oh, then they talked about it over the announcement. I said, oh, he really is playing. So then they explained. I was like, okay.
It definitely caught me off guard when I heard about the switch, but it makes sense. He was an athlete coming out of high school anyway, so
right.
When he went up to Oregon State, but it's going to be interesting. So one more time, you think that Bowman will start this week? It's obviously Monday. I'm not going to hold you to it.
Yeah, I think he'll start this week, but like I said, I wouldn't probably see a switch mid-game, or like you even said before.
Yeah, I think Columbia starts, and I think what they say is Bowman get healthy, and then I think if Columbia plays well, if Columbia plays great, I'll say this: if he plays great, there's no QB controversy. Columbia's the guy. Right?
Oh, for sure.
But if he plays just good or average, I think there's a quarterback controversy in that bye week in the week leading up to the next game against Baylor. I think there's a full-blown quarterback competition on who's going to start that game. And it might become a weekly thing. Who gives us the best chance against that particular defense, Like, oh, they're good against the run. Okay, we'll throw Bowman in there because he's the better passer. Oh, they're bad against the run. Okay, we'll put, Columbia in there, and we'll just run RPOs all day.
Did you see the quarterback is Bowman, Maverick, and then Columbia?
Yeah. I when it's or like that, I don't know. At first, I thought it was like an ABC order type thing. The other one that caught me off guard, and we didn't mention it, was the running backs. Roderick obviously should be one.
Yeah.
But how the hell is it Xavier White or Townsend or Brooks? We've only seen Townsend play like 15 snaps.
Yeah, it doesn't even play that much. I think that they should put him at – I want him to get at receiver. That's just me personally. But Townsend. They have a lot of receivers.
No, I get it. I mean, that's where he's really played. He's lined up kind of in the slot a couple times.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just so deep at the wide receiver position. It's hard to get anybody on the field.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you look at it, like Polk played a little bit. Cleveland, by the way, that is a grown man. That's a true freshman. Once he puts on a little bit of weight, number 85, Trey Cleveland, he is going to be an issue. That is a grown man.
No, that's a big boy.
He looks a lot bigger than 190. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of things to unpack here, but at the same time, I like where the offensive line is. No changes there, so that's obviously good to see. I wish Cardi didn't have that, hold on the 4th and 3, where they picked it up. You remember Columbia ran for the first down. There was a holding call on it.
Yeah.
I wish he wouldn't have done that because I think the game would have changed a little bit. But that offensive line I thought played pretty well. The dirty play by Kansas State, you can't blame the offensive line on that. That was a second or two late.
That was very dirty.
Yeah, very dirty. I would love to, see what a targeting call is from here on out. But, hey, the NCAA has been, stuck in a gray area with that, so not much we can do there. But, Tobias, you got anything else, man?
The one thing I want to bring up was that play in the fourth quarter so I think – I can't remember if it was the running back. It might have been Deuce, but they gave it to him. He came across the field. He runs on the sideline, but he ended up getting like 40 extra yards. You know what play I'm talking about at the end?
Oh, you're talking about the tight end.
The tight end.
No. Are you talking about the 66-yard setup for a score to give them the lead, or are you talking about the Deuce one where he ran down the sideline and got to like the 5 or the 6 or something?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Maybe because the camera it wasn't on that side. Did they think that he was going to run out of bounds or something, or did he just make a great play and break a tackle?
Oh, they broke contain. That was all Eldridge. It was Eldridge. He didn't set the edge.
Yeah, because that pretty much sealed it. But I was just like, because I thought they thought that he was going to run out of bounds or something, which wouldn't have made sense not at that time. But maybe he just, like you said, he just broke a tackle. They broke contain. Okay.
Yeah, it was all contain. I mean, they didn't set contain on the edge, and Deuce Vaughn's going to be a problem. It's an issue already.
Yeah, he's very good.
He is an issue for sure. Darren Sproles reincarnated up there. In Manhattan. But he's Tobias Bass. You can follow him at Tobias_Bass on Twitter. You can follow me at RCMB323 on Twitter. Be sure to go follow Guns Up Nation on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Got a lot of great content on the website too. So go to gunsupnation.com and get everything you need to know about Texas Tech athletics. One more time, he's Tobias Bass. I'm RC Maxfield. A huge shout out to Two Docs for sponsoring the podcast today. Be nice to others, people, and wear a mask. We'll catch y'all next time.
Thanks for listening to the Guns Up Nation podcast. The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the podcast hosts and do not reflect the opinions of Texas Tech University or its affiliates. Visit our website at gunsupnation.com for more Texas Tech news. Thanks again, and Guns Up.